Let's go. Bring it tight. Bring it tight. Bring it tight. Simple, man. It's about what you got in here. Bring a little heart with you tonight. Bring a little heart. This game's about will. What are you willing to do with the guy next to you? Bring that. Bring that. Blood, sweat, tears. Leave that on the field. Everything you got. Hey, y'all, boy. Let's go.
That was it. That was the intro. Bears Week 12 recap. Welcome in. No Catch-Up Chicago. Sports Talk via Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Little. The boys with me, Big Nick the Quick, Eli Caberon. It's Bears Week 12 recap. I'm ready to jump right into it. I don't have anything nice to say. I don't have any positives from the game. I don't have anything positive from the situation. It's good to be back on the mic. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Same story. Bears at Green Bay, and the Bears get smoked on national television. I said it last night. I tweeted it. I got excited for the game last night. I can't help it. I literally tweeted. This is my exact tweet. I said, I'm getting excited for the Bears game. I can't help it. I'm so stupid. And right on schedule, they got smoked. Big Nick the Quick. I feel like you're locked and loaded this morning. I can already feel it. You seem a little serious, but I'll give before we jump into it, I'll give my first take on it. Is it feels very Bulls-like. The franchise and where we're at feels very Bulls-like, where it's hopeless. The fans don't think anything's going to happen. I'm one of those fans. We have to clean house from the president down. President has to go. The GM then has to go. The coach then has to go, and we need to rebuild from there. Big Nick the Quick, how you feeling after the game? Bears, what was it, 41-24?
41-25, I think.
41-25.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of that, like the Bears like to do, came late. Yeah, I mean, that was I number one, I was at no point in the day excited about watching this football game. No point during the week, no point during the year, really, was I looking forward to this particular matchup, especially with the way things have been going for the Bears. I had zero confidence in the Bears' ability to win this game or really even put up any type of fight. So the result to me as far as losing by 16 points isn't surprising. I think what was surprising to me was probably the fact that the defense just laid down. Came out right before the game that Hicks wasn't going to play. And to me, especially in that second quarter, the defense had just given up. They were just like, fuck it. I think at one point in the game, the Packers had, I don't know if we'd played 16 minutes of football. The Packers had it for 14 minutes of that. So, I mean, they were just doing whatever they wanted to offensively. Aaron Jones was picking up 9-10 yards a carry. Aaron Rodgers was hitting Devontae Adams any which way you liked it. They were getting Devontae Adams out in all different types of mismatches, getting Khalil Mack on him, getting Danny Trevathan on him. Obviously, Rodgers was hitting them open. Yeah, I mean, it was just that was embarrassing. Is kind of what that one was, man. That was just an embarrassing loss for the franchise on national TV, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
so I'm not mad this morning. I'm not like it's just par for the course. But this is what you expected. If anybody expected anything differently, if anybody expected like a bounce back, I was making jokes on Twitter about the 10 God resurgence. I don't think anyone thought that I was serious on that. And this is just kind of what we expected. I will say there were some spots that Mitch looked competent. But overall, yeah. I
think kind of what you said about we got some garbage points late. I was reading on Twitter, 16 of 20 touchdowns have come for the 16 of 20 touchdowns for the Bears have come when trailing. So that's an insane number. So in other words,
what, 20 touchdowns?
No. Besides the 20 touchdowns, 16 of them have come when we're behind. That's so, dude. We're not even. It's just incredible. I mean, we've scored 20 touchdowns. I mean, 5 or 6 of them have been when we're even in striking distance of the team that we're playing. It's craziness. Caberon, how you feeling?
Yeah. So I compared this game last night to remember when we used to all be able to go out to bars and you'd have a friend that was like wants to take a shot, and you're like not really feeling it, but then they order that shot that you just can't stand.
Yeah.
For me, that's Jaeger. And last night was like a shot of Jägermeister. Like you knew before it was going to be awful, then you took it and it was awful, and then you felt like shit afterwards. Like
Yeah.
at no point was that enjoyable. Like Sean said, I don't know why we get our hopes up for stuff like that, but it just always falls flat on our face. And Nick, like you pointed out, the defense just did not come to play at all. They were not interested in tackling anybody. They had as many sacks as the three of us did, as many quarterback hits. They didn't even put a hand on Aaron Rodgers' jersey all night. So when you do that, you have no chance of winning. Like the game plan was shot by the time the game started.
Listen. The whole team is trash from top to bottom. The whole team is garbage. The defense is garbage. We didn't put enough respect on Fangio's name, honestly. As much respect as we were giving him, we didn't give him enough because these guys didn't play last night. They don't care. The team, it's almost. I understand Hicks was out, and that's a big deal. But I mean, is it that big of a deal? Like,
that shouldn't be like the only thing that.
Yeah, bro. Exactly. If he's out, that doesn't mean we give up 40 points because listen, he went out the week prior, and then all of a sudden Minnesota started doing whatever they wanted. He was out. Last night. Aaron Rodgers didn't break a sweat. Nick texted me and said Aaron Rodgers isn't even trying, and he wasn't.
Yeah,
it was that easy. They blew our doors off yesterday. Fangio doesn't have the defense hyped up to do anything.
Pagano.
The offense is Pagano. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Vic had his own problems yesterday.
Yeah, Vic has some issues. Yeah,
dude. At least he had an excuse though. Like the Bears had no excuse.
Seriously.
So I know, man, and I want to go back to what I said about earlier when I opened the show. This feels very bullish. Like I feel like I don't want to watch these guys anymore. I want nothing to do with these guys until we clean house and make some changes. That's the only way anything's going to get done here. Also, this is by far the worst the season could have went. We start the season 5-1. Now we've lost 5 straight. We're 5-6. And now you're going to have a coach who's fighting for his job. They're going to be trying to win a couple games, and we might squeeze out another W, maybe even 2. We're going to end the season with 6 or 7 wins, and then we're going to be picking in the middle of the draft, and then we're going to start a rebuild, hopefully, with no coach, no GM, hopefully no president, and then we have like an 18th pick. It's time to get rid of every single person not named Jalen Johnson, Eddie Jackson, Kyle Fuller. Who else did I name? Roquan, Komet, just because he's on a rookie deal. And I don't know, maybe Whitehair.
Montgomery was okay.
No, Montgomery can go. They all can go.
Well, listen, Matt Nagy can be fighting for his job all he wants to over the next few weeks. That doesn't necessarily mean the team's going to win. I'm not worried about that either because in these weeks that it mattered and they really needed to get wins, they couldn't even come close to it. So to say that, he's going to be fighting for his job, so that might mess up our tank or us losing games, I'm not concerned. I don't see the path to victory for this football team. Like, I really can't see them going into a game.
We're at home. We're at home against the Lions next week. We play the Jaguars. Like these are the teams those are teams that we can beat.
And if those teams happen to score 3 touchdowns, we're in deep shit. I don't know. What do you mean the teams that we're supposed to beat? We are the teams that teams are supposed to beat.
I didn't say supposed to be. I said we can beat.
Okay, because we are the teams that teams are supposed to beat. So I don't feel confident in any game with how this is going because it's fallen off the rails. It's getting worse. And remember, the difference between earlier on and now is the defense isn't going to be playing for anything. So performances like yesterday are going to become the norm. They're not going to be playing their ass off like they did for the first 10 weeks of the season just to have the same result. These guys have checked out. You know the deal. These guys are mentally in Cancun. All of them. It's over with. So we could have Detroit come here next week and we could lose. Maybe they're feeling themselves after Matt Patricia gone. That seems to happen to a lot of teams who have fired their head coach, right? The Falcons fired their coach. They start winning some ball games. Maybe with Matt Patricia out the building, that team is inspired. There's some talent over there. right? Maybe with Jacksonville, I don't know. They just fired their GM yesterday. Maybe they'll fire Marone today. Maybe they'll have an interim come in, and that guy's trying to win some ball games against a Bears team that does not care and checked out and cannot score points if they wanted to. So Nagy can be as motivated as he wants to. I don't see how he's going to produce any points with this bunch. It's just going to get worse.
I feel like we've had this same conversation each of the last 5 episodes because they keep losing, but the Bears have just a bleak future. Like, there's no path forward that is promising starting in 2021 because they don't have the quarterback settled and they don't have a coach that can lead them out of this and a general manager that's going to make the picks. Like, you look at Jacksonville, yeah, Mike Glennon is starting, but they're going to have the number 2 pick in the draft or something, and they're going to get Trevor Lawrence, and by next year, they could be a solid team. Like, the Bears, as we keep talking about, are going to be stuck in the middle with no real salary cap space to do stuff, and they're going to be decent enough that they're going to justify keeping either Pace or Nagy. And I just don't know what the path forward out of that is.
Listen, I get it. There's no salary cap space, and it's not very flexible. Find somebody that can fucking make it flexible. Find somebody that can move everyone with dollars off of the team. Go find anybody with talent, Khalil Mack, move them off the team. Go stack as many draft picks as you can. Figure it out. Find someone that can figure it out and make the team. Listen, this is what we always talk about. I don't care if the team is complete bottom of the barrel trash next year, because at least that means we're moving towards something and trying to get some pieces to be competitive. Dog, this middle of the road bullshit that they're trying to sell us that we have enough to win anything and do anything is complete garbage. This team is a 1-win football team. We should have 1 or 2 wins max. We've somehow stumbled into 5, and now we've lost 5 straight. Lose the rest of the games. Move who you need to move. Start to stack draft picks and clean house. I understand it's going to be a difficult job, but yo, Nick, and you were right, bro. Like, I think I did kind of fall into the lure of being like a Chicago Bears fan. Like, oh, why wouldn't you want to come here? It's like, you're right, bro. This team is ass.
Did you watch Deshaun on Thursday?
This franchise is ass.
Did you watch Deshaun on Thursday? That's where I'm going if I'm Eric Bieniemy. I'm not going to the Chicago Bears.
No, you're right.
Hey, I want to go coach that guy. I don't care what your cap situation looks like. I want to go coach that guy because at least there's something there to build on. So, yeah, I mean, to Eli's point, yeah, it's bleak. Why would you want to come here? I mean, obviously, it's an NFL head coaching job. It's an NFL GM job. There's 32 of them, and it's the job of a lifetime. You're going to get somebody, and you're going to get somebody good, hopefully, right? But if you're talking about these cream of the crops, like we talk about a Bieniemy, this guy's going to have any job that he wants. The Jets, the Bears, the Texans, whoever else, the Cowboys, any job that he wants that's going to be open at the end of the year, he's going to be able to pick. When you look at it, the Bears is down towards the bottom. Outside of the fact that it's Chicago and it's the Bears, there's nothing going for it. You have a 31-year-old defensive end that you just signed to a $70 million contract. That's literally a zero, right? You got your other defensive end who's a Hall of Famer, but you got to figure out if it's even worth having him on the team anymore. You got talented guys on defense, but will they still be affordable and good when your team is good offensively? You have no offensive line. You have no quarterback. You have no running back. You have a receiver who you need to figure out what you're going to do with him as far as a contract. Your number 2 receiver is a rookie. He did a good job, but he is a number 2, right? You have a rookie tight end that you don't really know what he is. Like, there's just so many question marks on this team. If you come over here, if you're a GM, it might seem enticing because, like, yeah, hey, maybe they give me, free reign to blow this thing up. But this I don't see. It's not like a couple little tweaks here with the Bears. It's not like you're the Cowboys. It's like, oh, wait till we get Dak back. You know what I mean? That's not the situation here. This is a full and complete total rebuild and figuring out who you're going to take forward with you, and there might not be that much.
I mean, last night was a perfect example of like 2 different ways to build a team, and the Bears are clearly stuck in like 2002 trying to replicate what the Ravens did with Trent Dilfer, like strong defense, manageable quarterback, good running game, tight ends. Meanwhile, the Packers have this all-world quarterback. They've invested in the offensive line to protect him. They've invested in the defensive line and the secondary to get after other teams' quarterbacks. Like, it's a passing league, and the Bears are still stuck in this idea that defense and running game is going to win them a championship. and you can see what path that's leading them on, like to nowhere. They're going to be stuck in this 5 to 10 or 5 to 9 win range, depending on what happens this final month of the season. But there's no path forward with the current roster. The Packers were fine to let Jimmy Graham go, and probably excited that Ryan Pace gave him 2 years and $10 million to be a statue in the red zone that doesn't jump for balls anymore. Like, the Bears are just outdated, and their model of trying to win just doesn't work anymore.
Well, maybe they're not outdated, though, because wasn't that the point of hiring Matt Nagy, and wasn't that the point of moving up to draft Mitch Trubisky to take yourself out of that realm? So maybe they're not outdated. They just failed. They tried. They had the right idea. They wanted to move into 2020 football, but you picked the wrong coach, you picked the wrong GM, and you picked the wrong quarterback. You tried. Matt Nagy was supposed to be innovative. Mitch Trubisky was supposed to be a modern era quarterback, right? Ryan Pace is supposed to be a forward thinker. You failed. You just missed on all three.
And you know what happens when you miss on all three? You get fired, all of them, and you start it over. That's where we're at. I mean, yeah, I agree with you 100%, Big Nick the Quick. Matt Nagy on job security, and I quote, "I just think that right now with our team, that this stuff through the season, that this is the stuff the season that you go through. It's about fighting adversity. It's about building culture. It's about staying together."
Matt Nagy is he would be a great next door neighbor. Like he's just like a chill dude that would drink beers with you outside, but he's not a good football coach. Yeah, you want to go build through adversity, but they're not building anything. They just keep hitting this adversity and falling flat on their face. There's nothing being built. Yeah, he can say the right things, but that's not meaning. There's no action behind it.
And this isn't stuff you go through. I'm looking at the stat right here. The Bears are the second team in NFL history to lose 5 in a row immediately after winning 5 of their first 6. So that's only in all the years of the NFL, only one other team has gone through this. So it's not stuff that you go through. Right. You don't go through this. Hey man, it's a 5-game winning streak. I hate when that happens. Or losing streak. I hate when that happens. No, that's not. That's what happens with bad football teams because only one other team has done it, and that happened in 1967.
Yeah,
stop it. Stop the cap. Hey, Matt Nagy, stop the cap at the press conferences big time.
Yeah, it's yeah, I agree. I want to play that Trubisky intro again because I got some thoughts on that.
Let's go, bring it tight, bring it tight, bring it tight. Simple, man. It's about what you got in here. Bring a little heart with you tonight. Bring a little heart. This game's about will. What are you willing to do with a guy next to you? Bring that. Bring that blood, sweat, tears, leave that on the field. Everything you got. Sunday Night Football, let's go.
Hey, say what you want about Mitch Trubisky, and I've said a lot of things. I felt that was very genuine, and I felt that it was good to see him fired up and have the heart to get out there, talk in front of the guys before the game like that, because he didn't have to do that, and he did. He's just not good enough. He wants to be good. He says all the right things, or he tries to say all the right things. He got put in an impossible position, getting picked second in the draft, getting traded up for, and then guys behind him are going to be Hall of Famers that are picked. So he's in an impossible position. He's just not good enough to make things happen. So I felt like those words were genuine. Nick, did you feel like he was reaching and just trying to make some noise, or did you feel like that was a genuine?
No, it was definitely genuine. We've never heard a bad thing about Mitch, the guy. And we've always heard that teammates like him. He's inspiring. He's got a great attitude. He's tries to be a leader, does the right things, involved in the community, all that stuff. That's all great, man. He can't play football.
Yeah.
So yeah. I thought it was cool. He's trying to inspire guys. One thing with these pregame speeches and hype speeches, you've played sports. By the first snap, by the kickoff, you do not remember anything that any of those people said to you. You're not oh man, I'm gonna go hard on this punt team because Mitch told me it's in here. That's not happening. And clearly they didn't listen to his message because they came out and laid an egg immediately. But no, I think it's real. Look, man, he's a good kid. I don't wish. It's not like it'd be a lot easier if he was an asshole, right? It'd be a lot easier if this was Jay Cutler and you could just be like, hey, look, man, he's a piece of shit and he sucks at quarterback. But bitch, you want the kid to do well, man. You could tell this bothers him, and it is what it is. But this is not a feelings factory. You know what I mean? This is not how is Mitch Trubisky the guy. It's how is Mitch Trubisky the quarterback, and he's not good enough. but it's a full 306. I think what happened though, removing Mitch from the situation these last 6 or 7 weeks allowed you to get a full scope of everything that's wrong with it. Because Matt Nagy actually did himself a huge disservice by benching Mitch. Because when you took Mitch away, and we talked about it, you pulled away your safety blanket. You pulled away your built-in excuse, right? You could always blame it on Mitch. When you pulled him away, all the cracks started to show. Everything else that you weren't good at, right? Regardless if this is the quarterback that you wanted or not in Foles, everything else about you as a head coach was exposed. Whether it was the fact that you couldn't keep your team disciplined, the fact that your team leads the league in penalties, you can't score offensively, your defense seems to quit in certain spots, all of that was exposed. So Matt Nagy, thinking that he was saving himself by benching Mitch Trubisky, actually did a huge disservice to himself, and you really saw all the problems that were there for this football team. So you can't just blame it on Mitch. This is a full failure. It was Mitch was so glaring before that you couldn't,
And the offense was worse with Foles under center. Like it turned out that playing the backup card was not only Nagy's safety net, but it was the wrong decision. Like, say what you will about Mitch, and I agree that he seems like a good kid that works hard and he really wants it bad. He's just not a talented enough quarterback to win in the NFL, but he's better than Nick Foles in 2020. Like he does more for your team than the guy wearing number 9. Like that was the wrong decision that Nagy made, and it has cost the Bears because they probably would have won at least one of those games in this 5-game losing streak if Mitch had been under center, in my opinion, at least. And I was wrong too. I thought that going to Foles was the right call, and that has backfired horribly.
I think we had to. Well, this is the thing. Pace kind of backed us into that. We had to take a look. He was obviously just as bad as he was the year prior, maybe even worse. Wasn't showing any flashes of getting better. You went out and traded for this guy. We have to see him. Right. We have to play Nick Foles in that spot. Absolutely. So now we saw him, and now we're back to Mitch. They both stink. They're both not NFL quarterbacks.
Do you know what's amazing? Like the way that this year is rolled out, it's unfathomable to me that Doug Peterson and Nick Foles beat Bill Belichick and Tom Brady in a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I was getting texted about that last night.
It's just like if you look at the Eagles mess and you look at the Nick Foles, it's like these two guys won a Super Bowl. Like these two guys won a Super Bowl. This bozo head coach and this doofus at quarterback. Like these two guys.
Nick Foles won Super Bowl MVP throwing for like 500 yards. Like that's incredible to me. That makes no sense. Like you cannot tell 2020 that happened because that makes no sense at all.
Yo, that Philly team was good that year.
Clearly,
they were really good.
And it was Doug Peterson had his best day ever coaching.
They were really
coached
good.
a masterpiece and has not coached well since. But yeah, no, 100% the wrong move. You're 100% right. Like the offense got worse. They showed the numbers. What was already a historically bad offense somehow got worse when you put in Foles. And I agree with you. I think they would have won at least one of those games because it's crazy we're saying this. At least Mitch Trubisky is like quarter way competent. Nick Foles is awful.
Yeah, I think it might be a blessing in disguise, man. Say we went and got Jameis, and we're then probably a 7 or 8 win football team for sure, and then we're in the middle of the pack again. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise
with an elite defense, though.
You think they would?
You think those guys
would be elite if we had a good team, a better offense?
Yeah, I think the difference between Foles and Jameis is Jameis has touchdowns with his interceptions.
Right.
He's 1 for 1.
Right.
I'll give one. I give it. I take it. You know what I mean? But Nick Foles just giveth.
No, but what I'm saying is, you think the D. So you don't think, to talk about the D for a second, you don't feel like the D is bad. It's more just like they're checked out, and if we had a better offensive side, they would be better on the defensive side.
I think it's hard to play defense when your offense is that bad. I think it's deflating. I think by the third quarter, and you've watched your offense go 3 and out, turnover, awful game planning, and you see nothing about it that's going to get better throughout the game and throughout the season, that wears on you. I think last night was 100% a culmination of that defense saying, fuck it. They had no interest in tackling Aaron Jones yesterday. He was walking up the middle for 9 yards.
But I'll say this. We're coming off a bye. The opening drive of the game, the D's on the field first. They got turned over from the first drive to the whole game. It wasn't like they were hanging in there tough like they were against Minnesota, and then it started to unravel late, right? The defense showed up and was ass from the start. They went straight down the field their first 2 or 3 possessions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I feel you. That's not like something happened that made them go that way. Sorry, go ahead, Eli.
I was just going to say, I don't think the game plan was good last night. They were just giving those receivers all kinds of space, and you can't let Rodgers pick you apart like that. We've seen this movie for 15 years. Like, you have to get pressure in his face. You have to make him make decisions, and the Bears just don't have. If Hicks, like I said earlier, if Hicks is that important, that's a concern, because he should not. I mean, he's a very, very good player, but if he's the linchpin to everything, like, you've invested so much money on the defense that, like, how can it all collapse like a house of cards with one guy out? Like, that just doesn't add up.
And if I'm his agent, I'm like, yeah, hey, look.
Yo, for real,
someone's not adding up here.
He missed the Colts game earlier in the year, and it made Phil Rivers look like a solid quarterback. Like, it's not a coincidence that the defense falls apart when he's out of there. But, like, that's a concern if he's the only thing that keeps this team going.
Let me ask you a tough question. I'll start with you, Eli. Is Khalil Mack somewhat of a fraud right now?
Yeah, I mean, I would say yes. Given the money that they're paying him, he's not the impact player that we are expecting. In 2018, when he first arrived here, I think he was. Last year, you saw it tail off a little bit, and this year, it's continuing. Now, that said, he's getting double teamed most times, and Robert Quinn is getting one-on-one matchups on the other side, and he's getting paid a lot of money too and not showing up. But yeah, Khalil Mack has to be an impact player, and that hasn't been the case. I mean, he got no quarterback hits. He wasn't in the backfield at all last night. It's not what you expect out of this guy that you invested so much money and draft capital in. So yeah, I would say he's a fraud.
Yeah, and I say
in that sense, like, obviously he's still a great player, but he needs to deliver.
Right, 100%. I was just going to say, I think right now he's a fraud. I think if he maybe went somewhere else and he's for me, it seems like when shit's not going well, Khalil Mack is cruising. When it's time, there's an opportunity where the team's playing well and he can make an impact, he will. If we're not going well and things aren't going well, Khalil Mack doesn't do anything, and it's been like that for multiple years now. And
no one misses Akeem Hicks more than Khalil Mack.
Right.
Whenever Akeem Hicks isn't available, you can go ahead and circle that as a dud game for Mack. I 100% agree. He's not holding up his end of the bargain this year. I think last year he was hurt, so we kind of gave him the benefit of the doubt. He's healthy this year, and he's just not making the impact that a player of his caliber should. I mean, I'm watching Aaron Donald yesterday with just a ridiculous swim move and another swim move and getting to the quarterback and just wreaking havoc, and it doesn't matter what the hell else is going on around him. So yeah, Khalil Mack is not having that impact. The whole thing. It's the whole thing. Tear it all down. Trade Khalil. Find a way to do something with that Robert Quinn contract. If you got to eat it, because that guy is trash buckets.
He got us.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But like I said, yeah, and I agree with you, Nick. I get it. The cap isn't flexible. Fucking make it flexible. Get rid of, come in here and do whatever you have to do to make it flexible again. Because if it takes, this is the other thing. I think Bears fans are also smart enough to deal with what was our biggest problem with the Bulls? They tried to sell us this bullshit team. We'll go get Wade and Rondo, and we'll tell us that we're going to be in the playoffs. Our goal is to make the playoffs, when the whole time we should have been rebuilding the team and blowing it up. That was our issue with the Bulls. The Bulls fans are somewhat happy right now. It's because we have clear direction. We got new management. They're going to kind of take us in the right direction and kind of restart it. The Bears haven't got there yet, and they're going to try to sell us that this team and this, we still have some hope to do anything, and that's not true, and it's bullshit. Bears fans are smart enough to know if you blow up this team and we're ass for 2 years in a row, it'll be rough, but we could deal with that because we have some direction. Don't sell us this half-ass, we have a defense to do this, do that, and be competitive, because Aaron Rodgers has been in the division. We're never going to win the division with him around unless we completely rip it down and show up and we have talent all over the roster. That's what we need to do. And the biggest tragedy in all this is that the window that we didn't do anything with the defense that we had, because there was a 3 or 4 solid year window where if we had an offense that was decent, we could have made a lot of noise.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, this was the last year of that window, in my opinion. I mean, that window started in 2018 and closed in 2020.
It's crazy to me that the Bulls are the most stable franchise in Chicago right now. And not even close.
Yeah.
Hold on, be easy.
We got a Sox fan in the building.
Chicago White Sox, other than the Tony La Russa.
With the drunk manager, get out of here.
Other than but I'm saying if you
their fan base is not pleased. I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but
they're pleased with the talent on the field, though, and they're pleased with the fact that there's so much talent on that field. Here's the thing:
are they trending in the right direction?
If you look but here's the thing, right? You look at the White Sox versus the Bears, and it's actually a good comparison. It's pretty clear what the issue is with the White Sox. We haven't started playing yet, so we don't know. La Russa could be a good manager. But if you're that mad about it, it's hey, if this doesn't work, you fire Tony La Russa, and you still have 15 studs on the roster, right? That are young and under contract. With the Bears, that's just not the case. You can fire all three. You can fire Pace, you can fire Nagy, and you can get rid of Trubisky, and you are still left with a myriad of problems on that team. So, yeah, I don't know if the Bulls are the most stable, but the Bears are certainly the least stable out of all of them.
Right.
And it's not even close.
The Cubs are changing team presidents and probably selling half the roster, and they're in a better spot than the Chicago Bears, who have no clear direction at all.
No path to rebuild, no path to relevancy. There's no path to anything like Sean's talking about, just a path to mediocrity. But it isn't a 2-year thing. We have seen people flip a situation in 1 year. Look at Miami. You bring some smart people in the room who know what the fuck they're doing. You say, this is what we're trying to do. And shit worked out. You get Tua, and now they're going to be great. And Flores looks like a great head coach.
But Miami also played the long game. They had Minkah Fitzpatrick, and they were this team's not going to be good when Minkah Fitzpatrick is ready to renew his contract. Let's flip him for a first-round pick. And now they have that draft capital. Every time Houston loses, which hasn't been as much since they fired Bill O'Brien, but every time Houston loses, the Dolphins win because they have their first and second round picks this year because they took advantage of a horrible situation in Houston. But the Bears didn't think progressively. They have only their picks next year. They gave up a pick to get Nick Foles. When they could have signed Jameis for a third of the money and no draft capital. They're just not forward thinking. And that's why 2021 doesn't look to be much better than 2020. Even if the faces are new all up and down the roster and in the front office.
Yeah, but I think we would be okay. Let me ask you this then: would you be okay with that if we had a new GM and a new coach and we were starting over? That's the question. I think it's
okay with what?
Okay with
being bad?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, as long as there's some, I'm not. If there's some direction, there's no direct. If you're bad for the sake of being bad, then yeah, I mean, I think the way that Miami sold it to their fans was, look, we're going to be bad, but there's 3 quarterbacks that we like in this draft. We're going to get one of them, and we like our head coach and our GM. We trust these guys. So, and you saw, even if you were a Miami fan last year, we talked about it. If you watch that team and you watch that head coach, you're like, yo, there's no talent here, and these guys are fighting hard. This guy's doing some good stuff. He's a good defensive guy. I can see how when you substitute Joe Blow for a good player, this is going to start working here, right? So you saw the foundation of it. You can see that in basketball and NBA rebuilds. Okay, we see a foundation. We see the beginning of something. But the Bears are rudderless. We don't know, like Sean's point, you might end up with the 12th pick in the draft, the 10th pick in the draft. So you're not going to get my man's from Ohio State or Trevor Lawrence. You know what I mean? You're going to end up with Kellen Mond or some shit like that.
And it's not we've talked about this so many times. It's not like the Bears are just a quarterback away. They have a lot of issues. Offensive line is still awful. The defense is aging. At some point, they're going to have to address those issues. It's not just a quick plug and play. They have a lot of problems up and down the roster, which is why I think Pace has to be number 1 in the firing line. Though, Sean, you've mentioned the president. Ted Phillips, I worked for the team. I've followed this team my whole life. I still have no clue what that man does or why he has a job, but he should be on the fire line as well if he's the one in charge of picking Pace and therefore Nagy.
Dude, listen, if you're the president of a football team and the football team hasn't done shit for decades plus in a row, and why are you at the helm, you have no business with a job. Simple as that.
Apparently, Ted Phillips, I was talking to my pops about this, and like you said, yeah, he's a money guy. And when the team needed money 10 or 15 years ago, Ted Phillips was able to orchestrate some deal to bring in some like private money or some shit like that, and they're obviously loyal to him. But he claims to be a money guy who has nothing to do with football, but apparently he does meddle in some decisions.
He's in all the meetings. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when it comes to paying people, he's the one who's like, "Oh no, we can't extend levy, or like we can't do that. We can't." It's like, "Oh, I'm not involved in football until you want to cut a check."
I believe that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. I'm not involved in football until. Hey, what's this?
No. I mean, I'm talking about the favor thing. Or
getting the money when he got the money.
He made some shit.
He got him some money. Yeah, he got him because the family business. They needed some cash. He orchestrated a deal for part of the sale of the team, and they got a quick influx of cash. But regardless, you need a team president. You need a competent GM. You need some football people in the building. And I don't know if the Bears are going to get it.
I'm telling you, this is the Chicago Bulls. This is fire Garpax. These guys need to get so much heat that they need to feel like they have to make a change.
I think not having fans at Soldier Field is helping them this year, because they would be hearing it loud and clear on Sunday when they came back to play the Lions, and there would be 20,000 empty seats, and the other people there would be booing them. But that's not the issue.
I don't know if the seats would be empty, but they'd be filled with people booing.
I was there in 2016. I think they played the Browns, and it was like the week of Christmas, and there was.
I remember that game.
There was more empty seats than filled seats.
We talked about that on a podcast, Sean. We were like, "What would it cost for you to go to this Bears game in December?" And we were like, "No, there's zero chance you could get me to go to this game."
Absolutely,
that was like one of my first episodes. Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be sunny on Sunday, so maybe people would show up, but like. That Jaguars game, the Mike Glennon revenge game in a couple weeks. There's no one.
What if Glennon comes in and just rips us apart with
all that? I would find that so hilarious.
Glennon just comes in and just shreds the Bears defense for like 400.
That's the other thing. It's like, dude, the Jags at home put up a fight against the Browns. Like,
they're feisty.
We're the only team not doing. Like, we're getting rolled week in, week in. Like, it's craziness.
That's why when you say at home against the Lions and at home against the Jags, these teams are playing for pride.
But also, our scale is a new
head coach.
It's a different, because if you look at the numbers, we didn't get rolled 2 weeks ago against the Vikings on Monday night. It was the offense couldn't do anything. So the scale is just different for us. Like 7 points seems like a blowout because it's so hard for the offense to muster up that many points. Like for most teams, that's a within reach game, and for Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky, that's just like impossible.
19 points per game, y'all. 31st in the league behind the New York Jets, who are an actual dumpster fire.
Man, we're behind the New York Jets officially?
No. They're 32nd. We're 31st.
Oh, okay. I was going to say,
but,
damn. I mean, it is.
But they haven't even won a ball game, and their coach is getting up there lying at press conferences.
Like we've talked about, if you remove garbage time, like the Bears would be dead last.
Yes.
The Bears have scored they've scored one offensive touchdown in the third quarter all season. That's almost impossible to do. Like you have to try to do that. Like it's
and just correct me if I'm wrong. And isn't that touchdown Cordell Patterson kick return, or is it?
No, they had one special teams and one offense. I think.
Yeah, offensive touchdown.
Yeah. So
whatever. Like sure, give them two offensive touchdowns.
I got something for you guys, real quick.
Yeah.
I have a quick little thing of fun here. I picked up this stat yesterday and I was shocked by it, and I want to see if either of you guys know it. Whoever gets it gets a coffee from me.
Deal.
Jay Cutler is first all time in completions for the Chicago Bears. Do you know who's second? By the way, Jay Cutler has every single record you could possibly.
Yeah, I know he has
Bears record book because I was looking.
It can only be a couple. It can only be a couple people, right?
I was shocked as to who it was.
It can only be Jim Miller or Eric Kramer. I'll go with Eric Kramer.
Eric Kramer is 5th. Jim Miller is 16th.
What?
I will say
Eli might have it. Oh, he looks like he might have it.
Harbaugh?
Yes.
Wow.
Jim Harbaugh. I owe you a coffee.
Next Bears head coach.
Yeah, that's why I looked it up, because Eli Lidoff had mentioned that he thinks he's going to be the next Bears head coach. I was just looking up Harbaugh, and it's like, he is second all time in the Bears in completions, third in yards. Yeah.
Jim Miller is 15th in completions.
Yeah, I mean, Jim Miller only played like 2 years on the Bears and didn't throw the ball.
They weren't really a pass-happy team under Dick Duran.
Hey, Jim Miller was like the Kyle Orton's before Kyle Orton. He was like the genesis.
Who's number 3
in completions?
Yeah. If you got it,
Eric Kramer. Eric
Kramer.
So it goes Cutler, Harbaugh, Kramer, Luckman. Do you know who 5th is in completions? This tells you how bad we are as fucking football town.
Kyle Orton?
No, Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. 100 plus years.
Yeah, seriously.
That's crazy.
Do you know what Kyle Orton's record is as a Chicago Bears quarterback?
16 and
I'm 21-12. I'm validated.
Kyle Orton 21-12. But how much? But
that's like the Matt Nagy record. Like,
yeah, exactly.
No, stop. Kyle was involved.
No, fair. But did you see that stat last night on the game where they talked about who has thrown the most touchdowns in the Bears-Packers rivalry? And the leading passer for the Bears was Cutler with 14 touchdowns against the Packers. And meanwhile, Rodgers had 54 and Favre had 50. Like, it's a whole different sport that they're playing. Like,
I get it. It's very good for TV, right? To hype up the rivalry. And it's like Bears Packers, and they play all this old footage and do all this bullshit and have Jim McMahon intro the game. And it's not a rivalry. They have destroyed us. They own us. They've owned us for decades now. They own us. Period. Point blank. It's not a rivalry at all. Some things got to change, man. I don't know. Man, this is so. I know I keep saying it, but it reminds me so much of the Bulls, where like I don't want anything to do with these guys until the rest of these dudes are out. I don't want to watch the games. I don't want anything to do with them. What is there anything we can hang on? Hey, the best part of the night for me for the Bears was that Jalen Johnson hit on what's his name? The guy on the Packers was last night.
Valdez.
Yes, bro. He thought his chest was broken. You saw him. He took his helmet off. He thought his chest cavity collapsed. So that was a bright spot.
You know, the best thing of the night for me was, and has been on these Sunday night broadcasts, is the fact, and maybe Sean, you might know this because you play quarterback, but the fact that there's no crowd now, and with these mics, you can literally hear like Aaron Rodgers be like, "Hey, Marquez, come on over."
Yeah.
Or like yesterday with Tom Brady, he's like, Gronk, hot. Like, I think that's dope, dude. Like, you can really hear, and like, it's funny because you listen to Rodgers and Brady, and these guys are controlling everything, and then you listen to Mitch, and it's just like basic, like downset hut, pretty much. You know what I mean? But like Rodgers, like I was listening to Rodgers and Brady specifically, and these guys, like the amount of stuff that they're calling out at the line and like the conversations, like you never pick up him talking to his receivers. You know, you can see it on TV, but you never pick up what he's saying. But like, calling him out by name. He literally goes, Marquez, come on. And so Marquez Valdez Scanlon, whatever the hell his name is, comes on in motion. He's like, Devontae, do this. And it's like, that shit is dope. I think that is one cool thing that you've been able to pick up this year.
Yeah, that's been fun.
The one, it's, what I thought about since we're talking about just kind of ad-libbing, when Rodgers looked over at Devontae and kind of just gave him like the nod, and it was supposed to be a run play. He just pulled it out and threw it to Devontae, and Devontae picked up 12.
Yeah.
I'm like, dog, they just picked up 12.
Harmony.
Do you know what we have to do to pick up 12 yards? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, for him to just look over at Devontae Adams, pull the ball out, fire it, him pick up 12 and go out of bounds. I'm like, man, you guys don't even.
Was it not the most predictable outcome when Montgomery busts the longest play of the season, 60 yards on the first drive, followed by Kmet almost fumbling, and then Robinson not being able to hold on to the ball in the back of the end zone? Yeah. The most predictable outcome.
I wanted to hit this. All right. A lot of talk on Twitter yesterday about Allen Robinson and saying that number one receivers win these 50-50 balls, and Allen Robinson has not won these this year.
Hey,
and I wanted to come to his defense, and he has not won them this year. So where are we on that? I mean, you think that's valid?
I think he's
There's been a couple.
I think he's a number one wide receiver. So
okay, but
if you say what you want about him, should be coming up with these balls. How about this? 50-50 balls mean you need to come up with them 50% of the time. He is coming up with them 0% of the time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, that's the definition of 50-50, and he's 0 for 4 or 5 or something.
Yeah.
So Yeah, you would like to see him come down with some of these, but he's still a number one wide receiver. And if we're being honest, the play last night, he went up and over a guy's head.
Right, and he just landed out of bounds.
Yeah, pulled it over his helmet. It wasn't like he caught it with his hands clean and tried to come down and was stripped. He had to bring the ball over the guy's helmet back to his body, and he just couldn't get through all the arms.
To his defense as well. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. That's all.
His defense as well. He's open, and he's thrown 50-50 balls by these quarterbacks. Like, they shouldn't be as challenged as they are. So
for sure.
That's his tilt in his favor, though. He knew what he was signing up for when he came to the Bears. I guess.
Yeah. Yo, can you imagine our team arguing if we should pay Allen Robinson or not? Think about that 6 weeks ago. We're debating if we should pay him or not.
I think to your point, though, what you were talking about a couple weeks ago, why would he want to come back? I think that's where he is now. He hasn't said shit about his contract. He's like, you know what, I'm good. I want to go over there for 12.
To what we've talked about with being cash strapped, is it worth having a number one receiver if you don't have a quarterback or an offensive line? Like, is that good? Is that smart spending?
Right. That's a good point. Yeah, I agree. So, yeah, man, should he be coming up with some of these? You would hope so, but I still think he's a stud. So, what do you think?
I think he's a stud, but he needs to. If he's a playmaker, he needs to make those plays.
No, I'm saying quick. Yeah, you think he should be coming down with more of these?
Yeah, I think so. You said it perfectly. If they're 50-50 balls, he should be getting at least 50% of them, and he's not getting any of them. So I think last night just kind of adds to it. And I remember I think it was earlier in the year when he had two. It was a 2-in-1 game that Nagy kind of threw him under the bus a little bit about. So yeah, I think he needs to make that play in that situation too, because the game was still, I guess, within reach. It was never in reach, but it was within reach. Yeah, you got to make that play.
Hey, Montgomery looked kind of quick.
No, he's fucking got one gear. He's one gear.
Hey,
so one gear back.
He was moving a little bit though, but yeah, he's
one gear.
He's thunder for sure.
Not lightning.
Not lightning.
He's not lightning.
Not lightning. About it. All right, boys. Bears are at home against the Detroit Lions next week.
Can't wait.
Yeah, it should be
Stafford.
That's usually a game. That'll be a game where the Bears win by like 2 touchdowns.
What do you do with Stafford?
You trade him to someone that this is the thing. I don't know who would give up anything for him.
Well, his contract is
right, because like you would think you'd have to find a team that needed a quarterback that was in contention, but teams in contention don't need a quarterback. So I don't know what you
and don't want to pay him $30 million a year either
for an old guy. Yeah, so I don't know. It's a good question.
Is he fraudulent?
No, Stafford is solid. Solid.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's solid.
Yeah, he's been solid. Fraudulent is
Matt Ryan.
Yes.
Wow. Is that Ryan fraudulent?
Number one on my fraud list.
Yes.
Is it imposter?
Imposter. He won MVP, and he's been for how much talent that guy has always had
around him.
He's never, ever, ever could complain about having skill players, and they just bro. Yeah, I'm with. Don't even get me started on Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers, all
the Matty Ice, like the ice cold in his vein. Like that's the worst nickname for someone that is infamous in choking almost every fourth quarter. Like it just makes no sense.
Yeah, I agree. For my guy Cody P, yeah, we talked about it, man. I think we're on retool the whole thing, tear it all down, build it back up, be bad so you could be good again. I think that's the key. Be bad so you could be good again. That's what you got to do. And like Nick says all the time, in the NFL, you can get it done quicker than you can in the NBA or in baseball. It's been shown, it's been done. We've seen teams go from really good to really bad to really good again. So that's it, boys. For Big Nick the Quick, Eli Caberon, I'm your host, Sean Little. Make sure you subscribe everywhere. Bears Week 12 recap is a wrap. Bears at home against the Lions next week. No catch on Sports Talk via Chicago. We out here. Eli be ghost.
He'll be out as soon as you hit the button.
I think he must have to run to work or something.
Man, I wish I hadn't rode with you on that Trubisky touchdown bet.
Which
Talking
one?
about the
Russian?
Trubisky to score, yeah.
Yeah, I had him on. I just had that free bet, so I fucked with it.
It put me at even for the day though, because I hit that Mooney and the Trubisky rushing one. So
Doug, you know what you know what makes this even worse? So I had 2 free bets. I had 3 free bets yesterday that I had to use. I had $200 bets and a $30 bet. I bet I already had I already had the Niners, so but I bet the Niners money line, which took my free bet to because it was like plus, they were like plus 210.
yeah.
So that took my free bet to $210, and then I had a 50% boost. So I bet the $210 free bet on Rodgers more passing yards than Trubisky. And I had a boost from like minus 180 to minus 119. So that would have took the free bet to like $400, and I didn't even think about like garbage time and all that shit.
Well, when those games where Rodgers comes out and thrashes people, it's usually like 212 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, like insanely efficient. Like 21 of 25.
Yeah, he doesn't have these 500-600 yards passing games. It's always like, he's.
Yeah, I didn't think it through
he
enough.
Just gets you with a couple.
So he fucking got me there. So I lost all my free bets.
I have to
go back.
Are you on?
I have to go back and look at our play
Yesterday. Oh,